10 years, 10 plagues. The Amber Guyger verdict and what it means for the children of Israel. Hello, powerful people. This is Velvet Tea with RSP. This is an important message that I hope reaches those who need to hear it. The Amber Guyger verdict was predetermined to make you mad. More importantly, the entire case is a message that only those seeking will be able to find and hear what it is that the Most High is trying to tell us. With that in mind, let's begin. Police shootings in the U.S. of unarmed black men have been cited as the sixth leading cause of death for young black males. The reason? Satan is seeking the ensign. The ensign is due to rise around the time of the judgment. Satan has been trying to find him and kill him for several years now. Let's take a peek at the ensign, the mention of him in the Bible. Isaiah 11 and 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Now, we find some description of him in the book of Isaiah, and in a few other books, but I want to show you why Satan is working overtime at this point to try and find him. And we find out why in the Apocalypse of Abraham. Chapter 31. And then I will sound the trumpet out of the air, and I'll send my chosen one, having in him one measure of all my power, and he will summon my people. Now, chapter 31 just told us that this person will have one measure of all the power of God. That's a lot of power. Now, you can find descriptions and details as to who he is, where he comes from, etc., in several references in the Bible, mainly in Isaiah. But as I said, Satan is looking for him, so I won't be providing any information on this young man. What I will say is this. This is a warning. Part 1. If you have a young man in your family, or know of any young black men who are between the ages of about 16 and 30, yes, I say all the way to 30 because many of our 30-year-olds appear to be younger than they are, so they can easily be mistaken for someone who's in their mid-20s and so forth. Nonetheless, keep them at home as much as possible over the next few months. Avoid crowds, avoid white people, avoid going to places alone, including living alone when possible. There may be an uptick in the attacks because Satan knows his time to find this person is very short, as in microscopically short. Okay, so in continuing on with this case. So another cop shoots an unarmed black man, this time in his own home. A clear open and shut case of murder. But what do we have happen next? He's not the ensign. He's not even an Israelite. So we discover that Botham John is an immigrant from the islands. This shows us another part of Scripture. And what it's letting us know is that we are still hidden. Immigrants have come from the island and from Africa and Egypt and so forth back in the mid-1960s. Those numbers have been increasing at an astronomical pace in the past 20 years. Prophetically speaking, it was to hide the children of Israel. Now we know this because once again, every time there is one who is to rise among us, we are hidden among the Egyptians and the Africans. We found this in the story of Moses. We also found this again in the story of Jesus, as they were hidden among the Egyptians. The ensign is hidden right now, as are all the children of Israel, other than those of us who have come out and said, waving your hands, I am a child of Israel. So, for one day there was a moment of victory, as Amber Guyger was one of the first cops ever found guilty, but as scriptures basically let us know, they're going to continue to do what they do. They're not going to hold themselves accountable. So, she gets a sentence that is less than most of us would get for the possession of weed. This was designed to make us angry. Right now, we're supposed to be calling for deliverance, salvation, and justice. Instead, we see a full display of the same buffoonery from our people on national TV. So these people hug and they kiss and they're telling her everything's going to be fine and they're reassuring her, when the reality is that this is not how we're supposed to behave in this time. Now, why would they do that? Now, as I stated earlier, because these are immigrants, they put on the world stage a false narrative to set the heathen at ease. While American descendants of slaves are seeking blood, revenge, and retribution, as we've come out of our captivity, other nations who look like us continue to carry out a false narrative of forgiveness and love in the sight of our enemy. While we have been declaring war, they embrace those and call for light or no sentences. Even while we struggle to even get a verdict, a hearing, or even a trial when one of ours gets killed. So again, prophecy is unfolding to let us know the other nations are not going to stand with us. They are going to stand against us, even when it is one of their own that has been gunned down. Now, we have to understand that the children must unify with the other children and be careful not to allow confusion of faith to cause us to not do what thus saith the Lord for us to do. So, here's the next part of the prophecy. The 10 years is a slap in the face, and most of us know it, but why 10 instead of 25, which is typically the minimum sentence you can get in Texas? Because the 10 represents the plagues of both Egypt and the United States. So with that in mind, let's take a look at chapter 30. Let's go down to where it says, "And he said to me, I will explain to you the things you desired in your heart, for you have sought to know the 10 plagues, which I prepared against the heathen, and I will tell you it will be thus. The first is sorrow from much need. The second, excuse me, it is late and I can barely see the screen. Fiery conflagrations for the cities. The third, destruction by pestilence among the cattle. The fourth, famine of the world of their generations. The fifth, among the rulers, destruction by earthquake and the sword. The sixth, an increase of hail and snow. The seventh, wild beasts will be their grave. The eighth, pestilence and hunger will change their destruction. The ninth is execution by the sword and flight in distress. The 10th is thunder, voices, and destroying earthquakes." Now, we know there will be a total of 250 plagues, but if you divide that by the 10 categories that were just described, that means there's about 25 things that will transpire to make each of the 10 plagues come into fruition. The first plague is already on the horizon. We know this by the signs. The food shortages that were a result of the storms that have gone on for the last few years, the numbers of farms that are underwater, all of this is already leading to an increase in food prices and food shortages. So as I've stated before, if you have not done so, please stock up. Do so now, because we're not leaving before these plagues begin. Now, the fake temporary victory with the Amber Guyger case is but one of the many things on the horizon. The sooner we understand this is not a game, and we are stuck here until we start calling for our deliverance and salvation, we will undoubtedly see more of this nonsense, because we are not demanding that our enemy be held accountable, nor are we preparing the stage for the ensign to rise and for judgment to begin. Now, even though the Most High is still going to do whatever he's going to do, things would move faster if we knew what we were supposed to do and start doing it. Now, so my emergency message boils down to this. If you know any young black men, encourage them to stay home and stay safe. Remain among other trustworthy black people. Protect them as we enter into this next phase of prophecy. Begin to find the scriptures that have the songs or has lyrics that you can repeat that calls for the deliverance and salvation of our people, so that the judgment will come sooner. It is up to us to get this ball rolling. We won't get there if we keep allowing the enemy to destroy us while we misconstrue scripture and not call on justice from the heavens. We are not going to receive justice from our enemies here on earth. I hate to have to say that, but it's true. With that in mind, remember that in all thy getting, get understanding, and remember to seek truth.